turn this morning to Psalm chapter 34. My week to stay in Psalms. I seem to go to different times and different places. This time it's been in Psalms. Last week, we had a message about the disciples going across the lake. And we mentioned that as they went across the lake with Jesus in the boat, that the storm came up. And I mentioned that every one of us can face storms in our life. But there's certain things that we can do as the storm is coming. And one of the things that we can do is not forget the Word of God. You know, the disciples had the Word of God in the boat with them. Jesus was right there, and yet the first thing they did is their focus shifted off the Word of God onto the storm. They shifted onto the storm, they saw waves, they saw wind, they saw everything else going on. And before they knew it, they came to the place that fear set in, and they cried out and said, Lord, don't you perish that we're dying out here. Don't you care that we're perishing? Don't you care that we're dying out here? But you know, the word never was, go to the middle of the lake and die. The word was, go to the other side. Now, when you receive a word from the Lord, you know that that word has enough power in it to get you to the other side. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There could be battles, there could be storms, there could be circumstances jump up that are going to try and tell you that it's not working. Not could be, probably will be. But there is enough power in the word that has been spoken to take you through if you will only accept that word and keep going. Now, once you have the word, once you've started on that word, then you can hold on to that word, and circumstances are going to have to change and shift and line up to prove that that word is true. That's why I've asked different times. People will come to me, they've lost hope, they've lost, their whole vision is gone. They don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. And I'll say, what's the word you receive from the Lord? Well, what do you mean? Well, when you got born again, where did you sense you were supposed to go? What did you sense you were supposed to do? What did the prophets speak over you? What have you heard from the Lord as to the direction for your life? Well, I felt God was calling me. I heard God calling me to be working in the youth ministry. But it just seems like, well, then stop right there. If that's where God was calling you, then you continue to get moving into that area, and you line up whatever you can line up, and you let the power of God line up the other things that He can line up, and you move through and you get into the youth ministry. Well, I felt God was calling me to Bible school, but I just can't find the money to... Whoa! Stop at the butt. Come on. I've used the expression, goat's butt. As soon as you're going to put a butt in there, you are stopping the plan of God. Yeah. What did you feel? Where did you know that God was calling you? Now, it doesn't matter. I know people that have been healed because they held on to a word that God had given them. Yeah. They came through and they ended up being crippled, and then they heard and held on to the word, and the word said, the word that they had received was that they were supposed to do something, and that ended up causing healing to flow through their body, because the word of God has the power within it to cause it to pass. So what do you feel that God, what do you know that God has called you to do? No, that's all. Keep moving, keep going, keep doing it. If God has called you to the ministry, then you keep planning the ministry. There may be storms, there may be waves that come up, there may be situations or circumstances that try and stop you, but as long as you know that that's where God is calling you, you keep moving in that direction and you refuse to stop. Hello? The power is in the Word. The Word was in the boat. Now it would have been just as easy to wake up the Word and say, let's go. But they started out by waking up the word into fear and saying, don't you care that we perish? So we talked about what to do when the storm strikes, when the trouble arises. And I mentioned that the trials will never change the Word of God. It does not matter which trials you are going through, the Word of God will not change. If God has said, go to the other side, then we know there's enough power in that little phrase to get us to the other side. Come on. question is not if we're going to the other side. The question then becomes, how are we going to the other side? You know, we can look at where scriptural precedents have been set. If the boat had sunk, so they immediately put their faith in the boat. This is how we've always done it. Every time somebody told us to go to the other side of the lake, the first thing we did, we jumped in the boat and went to the other side. Their faith was in the way that had worked before. Their faith was in the boat. But the boat wasn't taking them there this time. The wind was coming up, and since the boat was starting to sink, what they had put their faith in, they had lost hope of. But the Word was still in the boat. Jesus was still in the boat. But their faith needed to shift off the boat onto the Word. And when Jesus rose up, he stood up and said, "Peace, be still." And the wind quit. So what if the boat couldn't have taken them to the other side? They would have had to walk. It happened, remember? Peter walked on the water. If the boat couldn't have taken to the other side, they would have had to walk. But the thought was there, they had to get to the other side. Come on. The Word had the power. And yet we end up losing our focus. We end up losing our vision. And instead of going how, we start saying if. And yet God doesn't say if. God says go. You go. You got the Word. Now get going. See, many Christians don't seem to know what to do when trouble comes. They start spending their time moaning and groaning about how bad everything is. Oh, you don't know the trouble I've seen. They sound like a country western song. You don't know the trouble I've seen. Heartaches and whatever. Come on. There's not the time to start moaning and groaning. Once they're finished moaning and groaning on how bad everything is, they'll start whining. Why me, God? What did I do? Once they're finished whining, they'll start saying, well, maybe it's not God's will for me to go to the other side. Maybe I should just stop here in the middle of the lake. Maybe God didn't really want me to be on the other side. Maybe that was just a test. No, the storm was the test. The command was go to the other side. But we start focusing on the wrong thing. We start asking the wrong questions. We start trying to decide. We start whining. Well, all of that is nothing more than a waste of time and good energy. When trouble comes, it is important to remember, first of all, that it came to pass. Trouble comes, but it comes to pass. It's not staying. And to know that if God knows how to bring you out, and that He wants to. So when trouble comes, God already has a plan. Jesus already knew that that storm would have to bow to Him. God already has a plan. God already has a way, and He wants to deliver you. God gets no pleasure out of His servant dangling along like tin cans behind a wedding car. Come on. And yet somehow Christians end up thinking, well, this is what God wants me to beat up on the pavement of life. Scratched and scraped and boomed and clanging away like an empty can. God gets no pleasure out of that. No. He wants to deliver you. He wants you to come through. He wants you to eat the good of the land. Psalm 34 gives us an outline of 8 steps that will help us to come out of the storm. When you're in the storm and you don't know what to do, read Psalm 34. Verse 1, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. Oh, magnify the Lord with me. Let us exalt His name together. I sought the Lord, and He heard me, and He delivered me from all my fears. The very first thing we have to do is start seeking the Lord. Start seeking the Lord. When you're going through a storm and there's trouble coming from every corner, when you don't even know which way is up, seek the Lord. The psalmist says, I sought the Lord, and He heard me and delivered me from all of my fears. The first thing to do is pray. God, we need your wisdom. We